We're at 7:30. I would like to ask the village clerk to request that the audience stand and that Clerk Burns lead them in a pledge of allegiance.
Certainly. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if Clerk Burns could lead us with the roll call.
My pleasure. Trustee Augustine.
Here.
Trustee Gale.
Here.
Trustee Holder.
Here.
Trustee Kotinik.
Here.
Trustee McCarty.
Here.
President Kukler.
Here. Thank you. And in case I didn't say it, we are officially called to order. At this point, under the President's report, the first thing I'd like to do is ask that the trustees consider Beth Augustine, trustee, to join the Liquor Commission. And I would request that this be done by a voice vote.
I'd like to move to appoint Trustee Augustine to the Village Liquor Commission.
Second.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Terrific. Beth, you're unanimously appointed to the Liquor Commission, and welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President and trustees.
We did have on the agenda to go into closed session. We are still waiting for an intergovernmental agreement with the MWRD. Since we don't have that agreement, we are not planning to go into closed session. However, we may do so in August. I also want to discuss briefly the village's coronavirus preparedness. In response to the coronavirus, the village of LaGrange Park, and Western Springs, in concert with the Lyons Township Area Communications, that's our LTAC Center, 911 Dispatch Center, has developed a standard set of protocols for patient care, employee safety, and safeguard to the public. I've also participated in conference calls that were led by the Metropolitan Mayor's Conference with Mayor Lightfoot in Chicago's office, as well as Governor Pritzker's office. It's an evolving issue. The staff has been very involved in this. All of the conversations have repeatedly said, continue to wash your hands, cover your coughs, try to avoid sneezing on people and food. If you're going to the salad bar, sneeze away from the food. Use alcohol-based hand sanitizers. Avoid touching your face, your eyes, your mouth. And if you do have any symptoms, please feel free to call 911. They do have a screening protocol in place. Again, public health officials are monitoring people who have come in contact with confirmed cases and are encouraging people to do their part to reduce any further spread. And today in Governor Pritzker's press conference, the director of Illinois Department of Public Health stated that there was only one case so far reported of community transition among the 11 cases in Illinois, suggesting at least to date it is not very widespread. And there have been more than 600 individuals tested so far. If the governor's office is saying if you have any questions or concerns, you can call their department at 1-800-889-3931. I'd also want to bring up, and we will be bringing up, census, the Census 2020. The residents will receive an invitation to respond online to the 2020 census beginning March 12th. The deadline to respond, though, is April 1st, so it's going to be a quick turnaround. The 2020 census is the first time that the Census Bureau will offer online and phone responses. The village has partnered with numerous organizations, including schools, churches, and social service agencies, to get the word out. The village relies on a complete count in order to ensure that LaGrange receives its fair share of federal and state funds for the schools, roads, and public services, as well as congressional representation. And there will be more, there is and there will continue to be detailed information on our webpage. On Saturday, the village board and staff spent approximately 4 hours on the budget. I really appreciate everybody's efforts in that regard. It was commented by many of the trustees how prepared the staff is, and really informs us and the board on all the things that are necessary for the upcoming year. The way we do our budget, it is looking forward to how the capital funds are going to be spent in the upcoming year, as well as a projection for 5 years. And as one or more of the trustees commented, they've gone back and looked at just how accurate those 5-year projections seem to be. So it's a great effort by the staff, and it's well appreciated, and I appreciate all your commitments. And then lastly, or no, second from last, I'd like to express on behalf of the board our condolences to Chief Avra. His father passed away recently. Your family's in our thoughts and prayers, and we're thinking about you. And then lastly, I'd like to congratulate the Mayor of Countryside and the staff at Countryside for a great parade. They had wonderful weather, and I know they had thousands of people that turned out. So congratulations to them on that.
Mark, can I add something on coronavirus?
Yes.
Hopefully put more people at ease. Unknown to most people, the first case that was in Illinois and her husband, who was community transmission, were in one of the Amita hospitals. That was not widely known. And it was not only overseen by the CDC once we identified it, once Amita identified it, but the CDC has really gone out of their way to laud the job that the Amita folks did. So if you do have symptoms, if you do test positive or whatnot, please feel very comfortable that the Amita Hospital, LaGrange Medical Center, is certainly not only ready, but well prepared and experienced to deal with it.
Thank you, Trustee Holder. I do want to add, before I move on, that the next regularly scheduled village board meeting is set for March 23rd, but we've canceled that due to spring break schedules. The next regularly scheduled village board meeting will be held on Monday, April 13th, 7:30, right here. You want me to go to your report or me? If at this time, I'd ask Clerk Burns to read the items on the consent portion, followed by the items on the current business on the agenda.
Certainly. Matters on the consent agenda will be considered by a single motion and vote because they have already been considered fully by the board at a previous meeting or have been determined to be of a routine nature. Any member of the Board of Trustees may request that an item be moved from the consent agenda to current business for separate consideration. There are several items on the consent agenda. Item A, ordinance, creating an additional Class A2 liquor license, MG Cuisine, LLC, doing business as Marco's Kitchen. Item B, ordinance, text amendments relating to Articles 5, 9, 12, and 16 of the LaGrange zoning code. Item C, agreement, arborist services. Item D, purchase audio equipment for the auditorium. Item E, agreement, village attorney engagement letter. Item F, minutes of the Village of LaGrange Board of Trustees regular meeting Monday, February 24, 2020. Item G, consolidated voucher 200309. And under current business, item A, contract extension, residential solid waste collection and disposal services.
Thank you, Clerk Burns. Is there a manager's report?
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. President. This year's spring cleanup will be held the week of April 6th on your regular collection day only. To participate, residents are required to affix 3 stickers in total to the unlimited household refuse set out for collection. Certain exemptions apply, such as construction and demolition debris, hazardous materials, etc. For more information regarding the spring cleanup, as well as other recycling and waste reduction alternatives, please visit the village's website at www.villageoflagrange.com. Also, the village offers a free brush pickup service once per month from April through November, starting on the first Monday of each month. Types of brush include tree branches and shrub trimmings. Residents are invited to put the items out for removal on the Sunday prior to the week of pickup, but no later than 7 a.m. on the first Monday of each month. Brush pickup generally starts on the east end of the village one month and then on the west end of the village the following month. The brush pickup program takes about 1 to 2 weeks to perform. For more information also regarding the brush pickup program, please see the village's website. Thank you very much.
Thank you. At this time, I would invite anyone who has any comments on items that are on our agenda.
Hello, everyone. There we go, I think. Hi, everyone. I'm Marco from Marco's Kitchen. I want to thank you for having me tonight and for the big warm welcome that I've had bringing my business to LaGrange. Getting a little confused there. We are a full-service international fusion restaurant, and we specialize in infusing dishes and infusing drinks. Our atmosphere at the restaurant is going to be an Art Deco design, and white tablecloths, fresh flowers, candlelight, and romantic. So we're looking very forward to coming here and looking forward to seeing you all there. So everyone, yes.
Sorry, I was just going to ask you to give the address where you're opening and when you expect to open.
We're expecting to open the first week of April, which is just a few weeks off, and we are at 26 South LaGrange, right next door to Anderson's Books. And we only seat about 50 people, so we are accepting reservations.
And when will you start accepting reservations?
We're accepting reservations after April 6th.
Terrific. Well, Marco, thank you very much for coming. Thank you for your investment in LaGrange. We've heard great things of your prior restaurants, and we're really excited for you to come to LaGrange.
I'm excited to be coming here.
Thank you very much.
Have a great night.
You too.
Excuse me, I don't hear very well. And was this for comments that were on the agenda or not?
We're on the agenda.
I apologize. I'll sit down.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I would hear a motion on the consent agenda.
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
President Kugler, as previously stated, I recuse myself from voting items on the voucher related to the village prosecutor.
Thank you.
I have some questions.
Sure. Which ones do you have questions on?
I wanted to ask a couple of questions on the text amendments and also the arborist services.
Okay, so can we start with your questions on B, the text amendments, I think it is?
Yeah, just two quick ones. I don't need to pull it off or anything. The Charity, the proposed amendment talks about that it's okay for CBD and, how do you say it, kratom? Or?
Kratom.
Kratom. Sounds like something from the Star Trek Enterprise. Are only a small portion of the retail's overall stock. And then somewhere else in here, it says that it is the same sort of verbiage. Do we have, there it is, stores that predominantly sell? Do we have some sort of a definition of what that is, what small and not predominant is, so that folks can't get carried away with that?
We don't have a specific definition of predominant or principal or accessory. Those terms are used a lot in our zoning code. For example, Massage is allowed as accessory to a beauty salon. It can't be the predominant use of the space. So it's a fairly common way that we arrange uses within our commercial districts.
So would 25% be small or no? I mean, when do you send somebody over to say, you're turning this into a CBD shop?
At the time of the business license application, it's something that we would review and request information both about not just what percentage of their overall sales they would anticipate it to be, but also how much of the floor space would they intend it to occupy. So it's not just one component of the business. It looks at both the physical and the financial aspects.
And the business license is renewed how often?
Annually.
Annually. So if somebody got carried away, then
We
that
could
would be-
revisit it at that time.
Revisit that. Super, thank you. And then my other questions for Ryan. On the arborist contract, I know you said here that there's $40K in the budget for this, and you like Graph, and I'm all good with that, but it doesn't say how much Graph costs us this year or how much it's gonna actually cost us next year. Is it 40K?
Sure. So since this was a new way of delivering services, the first 2 years we were seeing how much the overall contract cost the village. And so $40,000 represents the average cost that we were incurring for that service. And I also want to point out, which is less than the cost of having a full-time arborist with the village.
Way less, and thank you. So it's basically kind of a time and materials thing going forward because of our good experience?
So we issue task orders for each and every task that the consulting arborist receives. So whether it's tree planting or meeting with a resident, we issue task orders for each and every service that he provides.
Gotcha, thank you.
Any other questions? Trustee Augustine.
I have one, yes, and Charity or Andre would know this, and I may have missed this, so pardon me if I did, but the final language for the part of the text amendment that was discussed in here that pertains to live entertainment accessory at eating places, is that still under consideration? That's why I don't see a final ordinance for that?
Correct. The Plan Commission did discuss live entertainment as part of the proposed text amendments, but we'll be bringing that forward at a later date in conjunction with some amendment to the municipal code noise ordinance.
Thanks.
Trustee McCarty.
Thank you. Referring to the expansion of the non-conforming structures in the side, corner side yards. So we recently had an applicant looking for expansion of their yards. Would this have impacted that?
It would not have, because he was making a request in the required front yard.
And when we were talking about, when the Plan Commission was meeting, did they discuss extensions in the front yard?
The Plan Commission? No, they all pretty quickly surmised from those that were on the commission at the time when this amendment was adopted initially in 2015, and then based on the record that the original intent was to allow expansions in the rear and side yards, both corner and interior side yards only.
Okay, so this would reinforce our decision we made a couple of weeks ago that the intent is to keep our front yards pretty strong and clean.
There was no discussion from the Plan Commission about the front yard and expanding it to the front yard.
All right, great, thanks.
Yeah.
Seeing no other comments, I'd ask Clerk Burns for a roll call vote, please.
Certainly. Trustee Gale?
Aye.
Trustee Augustine?
Aye.
Trustee Holder?
Aye?
Trustee Kotinik?
Aye.
Trustee McCarty?
Aye.
The consent agenda passes unanimously. Moving on to current business, we have one item under current business, a contract extension, and I would refer that to Trustee Holder.
Why, thank you. There is the page. I like the lead-in, thank you. I don't usually get music with lead-in. The village's current residential refuse and recycling contract with Republic expires at the end of April. And in anticipation of that, you might remember that the village conducted an online resident preference survey of refuse program options. We did that back in October. The EQC also provided suggestions to the village board regarding the renewal of the village's refuse contract, using all that input as well as their ample experience. So in December, we initiated a request for proposal process for residential solid waste collection services, and we asked for 3 different program structures based on the feedback that we got. Continuation of the current program, so you can choose toters or stickers, a village-wide toter-only program with a monthly flat subscription price, so no stickers, just the toters, and the third option is a village-wide toter program with electronic technology where a resident only pays when refuse is set out for collection. A proposal for a number of other optional curbside program enhancements such as electronics recycling, composting, household hazard waste disposal was also requested. We got 3 qualified submittals back, including our current provider, Republic Services, and we're in the process still of evaluating those. Since we're still evaluating them, and April 30th is coming up close, we've asked Republic Services to extend our current contract as it is, with no change in the service or any pricing changes until the end of July. Proposed changes to the existing insurance language have all been checked out by IRMA, and the extension will give us not only the ability to do a better evaluation and select a preferred hauler, it'll also allow us the right amount of time to select a preferred program option, approve the new contract in our village board meetings, communicate with the residents about the program and its enhancements, and also prepare for any changes that need to be made. So therefore, I move that the contract extension be approved and that the village president be authorized to execute the contract extension documents.
Second.
Thank you both. At this time, is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'd ask Clerk Burns to do a roll call vote. Or one thing before you do it, I do want to thank Susan Reisner from Republic, who's here, in case there were any questions, and I appreciate you coming out tonight. Roll call vote.
Trustee McCarty.
Aye.
Trustee Katina.
Aye.
Trustee Augustine.
Aye.
Trustee Gale.
Aye.
Trustee Holder.
Aye?
Therefore, the contract extension passes unanimously. At this time, I will ask if there's anyone in the audience that has any comments on matters not on our agenda. And thank you for your patience.
Thank you for asking. My name is Jim Pavelsek. I live on Country Club Drive, 801 Country Club Drive, and that's the corner of Brainerd and Country Club Drive. I thank you for the time. Much more important issues than I have to bring up here that you guys have already discussed. On Saturday, I was brought the 2 exhibits I'm going to bring to you. One was in my lawn and one was in the curb.
I'm not sure.
What those are they're cast iron reflectors that were placed when Brainerd was rebuilt by Cook County Highway Department years ago, which I now understand is part of LaGrange's jurisdiction. Anyway, those were flipped up on my lawn on Saturday, and one was in the curb on Saturday. They no longer have a purpose because the reflectors are no longer even in them. They're just busting out. I think that, as you can see, they're quite dangerous, and they're kind of boat-shaped, so they get flipped by cars anywhere and pushed by plows. I just think that they serve no purpose. They should be removed. Thank you.
James, thank you for coming. And again, this is on Brainerd, these came off of Brainerd, I assume?
Yes, they're continuous from 47th Street to 55th Street on Brainerd. So they go down the center of the median and on either shoulder. So there's probably only about 5 or 10% actually functioning, and maybe a pretty good percentage are missing already. So they're flipping out all the time.
Okay, well, we'll make sure that Department of Public Works continues to monitor and remove any that are sticking up or dangerous, and we appreciate you bringing it to our attention. Thanks. Any other questions or comments not on our agenda? Maybe? No? Okay. At this time, I would ask if there's any trustee comments. Seeing none, again, we are not going into closed session. So at this time, I would request a motion to adjourn.
So
Make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Trustee Kotenik, and thank you, Trustee Holder. And a roll call vote, or voice vote, I think, right? Just a voice? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much, everyone.